Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Oliver Joyce from Whiskeybarrel Studios, and a lot to talk about this week. It's been a pretty busy month, and first of all, the old clickbaity thumbnail there. No, this happened. I was interviewed by the great game dev Thomas Brush earlier this month, and I'm pretty excited to share that with you guys. I'm going to play a little snippet from that very soon. Lots of other stuff to talk about, including updates on Lair of Leviathan, Swords and Sandals 3 Redux, and just what's been going on. So let's jump into it. Now, it's really well worth watching the full video of this. It's like nearly 47 minutes long, but it has amassed 860,000 views already on YouTube. And it really blew up for him, and I'm so happy to see it because this is my favorite Swords and Sandals video ever. It's absolutely brilliant. Reason I bring it up, Bubber has just dropped a new Swords and Sandals video. And before we get to the Thomas Brush interview, I want to give a huge shout out to an up-and-coming YouTuber called Bubber, who's around 25,000 subscribers already and growing fast. He did probably the best Swords and Sandals video I've ever seen about 3 months ago, and words can't really describe it. So I'm just going to play it for you because you got to check this out.
Swords and Sandals is a series about swords and sandals. Am I right, guys? Why are you booing me? I'm right. Look, there's a sword and there's a sandal. What do you want from me? In all seriousness though, Swords and Sandals is a turn-based one-on-one fighting game where you play as a gladiator fighting his way to the top of the arena. Hence the full name, Swords and Sandals Gladiator. Or sorry. Swords and Sandals Gladiator. And this game? Well, this game's awesome.
Honestly, this video, it's nearly 47 minutes long, but the editing is just brilliant, and he tells a pretty funny story of his journey through Swords and Sandals 2. So if you're a fan of Swords and Sandals at all, I implore you, check this video out. The link will be in the description below. But the reason I bring that up is he's just done another video, and I want to give him another shout out because if you like the SNS 2 video, the Swords and Sandals 3 video is also available on his channel as well. And yeah, it's even better. Honestly, Bubber, I take my hat off to you. Thank you so much for just the hard work that you've put into making these videos. He plays his way through the whole games and records his experience and the frustration and the grind and the triumph and the tragedy of the whole thing. And I've actually invited Bubber to be an arena champion in Sword and Sandals 3 Redux whenever it comes out, because that guy, he's got to be part of the Sword and Sandals lore from now on. Legend, man. I appreciate you. But to our main story for the day, which of course is the Thomas Brush interview. Now, a little backstory here is about a month ago, my great friend John Stayscale of Lost Relic Games, who's building Blood and Mead, and we talk often, was interviewed by Thomas Brush. Now, Thomas Brush is a very well-known game developer in his own right, having made games like Pinstripe and the upcoming Twisted Tower, and he is very well respected in the industry. And he also runs a series of podcasts with incredibly famous game developers. Ed McMillan of Super Meat Boy, Jonathan Blow of Braid have been interviewed by him. Ken Irvine of BioShock. You know these games, right? He's done a series of interviews with these game developers, which are just fascinating. If you're into game dev at all, I urge you to watch them. But John Stayscale, humble John Stayscale of Lost Relic Games, was invited on there the other day. And this is a little bit from his podcast.
In terms of the publisher, so over the, past 12 months of development, my game has, improved a lot. I kind of managed to, I'll call it like a style maturation. I kind of found a particular focus I wanted to take it, and I took it there. And after I managed to kind of cross that barrier, a lot of people started reaching out, a lot of publishers.
So, little story behind that interview. John would not mind me telling you this. There is a big time difference between the US and Sydney, where John and I are based. And the interview was scheduled, I think, for 2 a.m. And so I think there was a slight crossed wires or something. John got up at 1 a.m. and then he had to wait an hour before the podcast. And he was like, I can't stay awake here. So he had to throw down a few meads, a few tankards of mead before the interview, and he was telling me it was really hard for him to stay awake and concentrate through that whole interview. So he did a great job. I thought that was a fantastic interview, but he is like, man, I'm just trying to keep this together. Anyway, on the back of that interview, Thomas got in touch with me, and we decided that it was my turn. And, my fame is debatable in the game dev community. I know a lot of people know Sword and Sandals. Not a lot of people know me. But I feel like I had an interesting enough story to share with Thomas. And then maybe a week and a half ago, or nearly 2 weeks ago, we recorded this. And I'll play you a little snippet from this now.
So in my head, I'm like, I'm going to build a podcast that's so profitable that I can make weird games and hopefully they pay off and maybe they won't. You know what I mean?
This is exactly the approach. And I think what you're doing is something I would advise every young game dev to do, is that don't go into your first game going, I'm going to spend the next 4 years on this, quit my job. Like you always see the Reddit posts, I quit my job to do this. And it's like,
yeah.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't have, but you did anyway. So you're
Right.
stuck now. But diversify, whether that diversification is starting up a YouTube channel or selling game dev assets or doing, small commercial projects for other people. The 80-20 rule is what allows you the luxury. And I think you and I are both in fantastic positions where you can afford to take the risk because you have the diversification from, you've already got, 3 or 4 other games that are, well reviewed and bringing in money. Anyway, that interview went on for nearly an hour. Actually, the whole interview was about an hour and a half, and unfortunately, about 40 minutes of it was cut out because it ended up sort of veering into, my history and the Flash game scene and everything, which probably wasn't super relevant for sort of the game devs of today. And it's a shame it was cut out because I really had a blast telling those stories, and unfortunately they won't see the light of day on that podcast anyway. But I was, incredibly grateful to Thomas for interviewing me, and we could have talked for easily 3 or 4 hours or more because there was so much to say. And he's a very charismatic interviewer, and really sort of listens to his guests. And this is an easy conversation we had. And I want to give a big shout out to him, and also just plug his game Twisted Tower. The demo is out now, and it seems to be very well reviewed right now. People are enjoying it. It's a 3D sort of shooter with Thomas's very atmospheric style. You get a Thomas Brush game, it's going to be story driven and beautifully put together. But this is the first sort of shooter game he's ever done, and it's kind of nuts. It's a really intense looking kind of it reminds me a lot of BioShock, more than BioShock meets a sort of a Quake style shooter and everything.
Was it the money
but
that made her sad?
yeah, I can see real potential in this, and it has all its hallmarks.
Join the Twisted Towers today.
For me, this looks like it's a very, very polished game, and he's really outdone himself. A lot of our interview was kind of talking about, the challenges. I was like, quieten that down a little. The challenges of making a game, not only in 3D, but of such a big budget and in a sort of in a style that you're not used to. And he's very much used to sort of short experiences of 2D driven games, telling a story and so on. This is a shooter with incredibly detailed 3D assets, and he is famous for his stories, but he had to try and sort of bolt a story onto this game at the last minute. It was just quite a nerve-wracking time for him. So I'm glad things are going well for him in that respect. So if you like the look of the Twisted Tower, get over to Steam and give that a wish list. It was a pleasure to be interviewed by Thomas. I don't feel quite like we covered as much of sort of Lair of the Leviathan and my own games dev stuff as maybe we could have, but these are the nature of these interviews. Conversations meander here and there and everywhere, and you're not just there to sort of plug your own stuff. You have to sort of be entertaining for the audience, and I was just as happy to give as much advice to him from my own sort of depths of success and failure and so on, and take advice from him as well. And it was a really good pleasure to do it. And the interview was also at sort of 5 a.m, so a much better time than poor John's at 2 a.m. So I was wide awake without the aid of a tankard of mead or anything like that. Speaking of tankards of mead, a quick shout out, and I raise my tankard to my Patreon supporters: BGP, Cavity Number 1, Dane Simino, Brandon K, Noah Goodison, X Up Omega, Seth Drabiko, Jeff Roth, X3D, Hopeless, Lewis Fugel, Valenwed, Evan Martin, Shalupski, and Sir Onyx. Brave heroes all. And if you want to be a patron, you get semi-regular updates. Get off! You get this idiot armor always in your way. And, I'm going to try and make you guys part of Lair of the Leviathan, whether it is through a custom portrait or a tombstone or a book, something that is uniquely yours, and we'll make that happen at some point. And, being a patron supports me and my own indie dev journey, and I'm so grateful. Honestly, like, I pinch myself every day that I'm still here doing this for some, strange reason. Honestly, never take life for granted. Last year, our family was hit with the hardest news of our life, and it's not my own little medical scare last year. It was something much bigger than that, and we are currently still weathering that storm, and we're doing okay. But don't take stuff for granted. Embrace what you have when you have it, because you never know when things are going to run out. And I feel incredibly lucky to be able to channel my energies into game development when other parts of your life are sort of, falling apart. And, we're doing it right now, but, hold on to your loved ones, and just, when the world around you seems to be going nuts, as it kind of is, regardless of what side of the political sphere you're on, or, where you are in the world, just sometimes you need to just unplug from all that, unplug from all headlines, and just take stock of what you do have, and the friends and the family and your hobbies and the things that make you happy. Just, just don't be afraid to retreat a little, and just shrink your world and just make it a little cozier for yourself. I don't know, just a little advice from an old timer. Anyway, before we go today, I just want to talk a little bit about Lair of the Leviathan, and there'll be a tiny bit of Sword and Sandals 3 news right at the end, so stick around. I did some promotion the other day. It was cool on Reddit, and on a few different subs, the RPG indie gamer sub and the Godo sub, and hey, we got over 1,000 1.1 upvotes, 1.1k upvotes, and that was just for a little inventory screen, which I'll show you this now. This was it. Doesn't look as blurry as this. This is just the compressed video, but look. We have equipment working, and people love that. People fell in love with this, and there's all these comments about the whole game overall, and there is some really positive vibes coming up about this game. People are excited and very bullish on it, and that has made David and I, very happy and very confident that what we are building is a winner. You know what I mean? And I can't remember if I showed you this in the last video, but I have been working on the inventory system. You can now select your characters with 1, 2, 3, and each item has an icon. You can select it with a keyboard or mouse. You can now double click to equip or unequip, double tap, untap. You've got a little paper doll here. Equip your shield, equip a ring of the cat, light mace. If I want to replace the mace with a spear, or I just want to view my weapons, they're over here. You can transfer weapons, transfer the dagger to Sir Galahad. Then when I go back to Sir Galahad, he now has a dagger which he can equip. So this is a really, I believe, easy to use and intuitive inventory. There will be further sorting soon, to further group that into I only want to view rings and so on. I'll probably put a little drop box down there where you can further sort that. But I personally think this is the best inventory system that I've ever done, and I'm really proud of it, even though it's still a work in progress. I'm also working on editors now for not just characters, which you've seen. You can now edit the character races and classes. So if I do make this, and there is looking more and more likely that this will have its own inbuilt mod editor, so you make your own mods for Lair of the Leviathan, you'll be able to create your own races as well. So like if we edit this, you can see is a human race, description about them, can they have beards or not, infravision, minimum age, maximum age, available classes. I've only put one class into the game using this new system, so there'll be like paladin and all that, cleric and stuff. What stats, skills they start with, starting powers. Again, only walk and rest right now, but I'm going to be adding everything from turn undead to fireball to whatever. And do they have bonuses or penalties and that kind of stuff? And you can save that and create, and you'll be able to create whatever race you want, from dragonkin to tieflings, whatever it is, anything. We're not putting those in the game because they're obviously copyright D&D, but for your own mods, do what you like. And the same with the class editor. Similar thing, a bit simpler. This is a knight, so a little Monty Python joke for you. And they have what starting skills do they have when you create a knight, and clerics will have turn undead. What's their key stat? What's their secondary stat? That's pretty cool. So we're putting the encounter editors together as well. The encounters, all the things is going to be quest editors still to come, combat editors. David has been working very hard on the various portraits for the game and everything. So heaps going on there. All right, very last, but absolutely not least, is, it's no secret that I'm also working on Swords and Sandals 3 Redux, even though I haven't really officially announced it or anything. Right now, I'm in the gathering of art phase, and this will take probably 6 or more months while my awesome artist, Bakimi, basically puts together all the art lists that I've given him and redoes a lot of the character art and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really even going to be touching this for a long time yet, but I'm hoping to have a Steam page up maybe in the next 3 or 4 months. But I did want to show you a little piece of character art. So check this out. Greg Scummo, the mighty Greg Scummo. You know him well. This is what the old Greg looked like with, my classic art, my drawing art style. And Greg has been redone by the incredible talents of Bakimi. That's the old, and here is the new Greg Scummo. And he looks much more noble there, even though he's a notorious liar, as we're discovering in the Sword and Sandals Discord that most of the things Greg Scummo says are made up or a lie. He certainly looks much more noble, and every portrait in the game is getting redone with a new treatment. Backgrounds are redone, new armor sets and everything. It'll be using the Sword and Sandals Immortals engine and so on. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm going to be tackling most likely portraits and figurines for characters next week, and then we'll be moving on to the combat engine finally for Lair of the Leviathan. If you're interested in Lair Leviathan, please give it a wish list. If you're interested in Sword and Sandals 3 Redux, which I know you probably are, just wait. We'll get our website together for that at some point soon. Thank you so much. This has been a long podcast, a long YouTube video today, and I apologize for the delays in these. I got a lot of stuff to do, but it's always fun to keep up with you guys, and if you're enjoying it, you know the drill. Like and subscribe and all the rest. Until next time, my friends, be excellent to each other, and cheers. Bye for now.